you're in a new space. I don't even know what to do right now.
Yeah, a 4-year-old come in, draw a bunch of stuff on the board. It's going to be fantastic. More importantly, why do you still, after a week, you don't look like Ryan Steenberg? Did you listen to nothing he said?
I've been trying absolutely everything he said, and I have not seen any gains yet. So I'm back for more from Jeff. Jeff, I need to.
Jeff will have good advice.
What are we trying to bulk Cordy up? Is that the deal?
Well, have you seen Ryan Steenberg? We had him on this week. He was #1 in the world in long drive last year for some amount of time, and he's like I think he's 5'10", 260.
Oh, so he's about my size.
Yeah. It just looks like Cordy too. So Cordy wants to look just like him.
Pounds. Okay.
Cordy wants to look just like him, so we gave him the recipe, and then here he is.
I think you're well on your way, Cordy.
Yeah. Thank you.
He looked different to me.
It looked like I was going to blow away in the wind, so we're just trying to avoid that because it can get windy out on the golf course.
That was rough, man. Jeff, thanks for being here again. We did a content series with you. I'm showing it right now because we need to get to the hard-hitting, fast questions. Check this out. golftech.com/18strong. Jeff Pelizzaro doing some fitness content for us. Can you explain just a brief overview of what these videos are, Jeff?
Yeah,
hey,
basically.
Before you do that, though, look at this vibe that you have in your gym. Holy cow.
I know. It's really dark.
That is a vibe.
Pretty fancy, right? That's how we train all the time. Lights off.
It's in the dark.
Lights off with one light staring at me from behind the camera. Perfect.
One spotlight on the pupil. Great.
Exactly.
I'm sure that goes well.
Yeah, basically the series was really to just kind of give golfers a very simple template that they can use so they're kind of not lost whenever they go in the gym. I mean, we've got, first of all, everybody's at home right now, so they're already kind of thrown off their normal routines if they're used to going to a gym to work out, or when guys are traveling, or whatever situation they might find themselves in. One of the biggest questions that we always get is like, what should I be doing? And so we just wanted to put together kind of a quick series of, what are 5 basic things that you can do in all of your workouts that make sure you hit all of the major pieces of what you're doing. And as you can see on the screen here, it's, we go through pushing exercises, pulling exercises, squatting exercises, hinging exercises, and some core and rotational stuff, just to make sure that you're getting all the right parts of the body.
Yep. And you nailed it. I love what you did here because it's pretty much anyone can do this. You've got some different degrees in here. So you've got like that image on the top right there that I'm looking at, the pushing with a dumbbell. You've got some cables in here. You have different pieces of equipment that you could use, but you can always use body weight as well. So I think the whole series is awesome. You did a great job of covering what someone should be doing like right now. That sound fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything that we do in there, aside from maybe having some dumbbells, I mean, really all you need is a band. You could even do you could do the dumbbell exercises with a band. You could do all this stuff at home for sure.
Yep. That's awesome.
What are we talking about for like time commitment, or what do you recommend, Jeff? Are we doing all of this at once, like 30 minutes, hour? What are we looking at?
Well, I mean, it depends on what your situation is right now. Many people still stuck at home. They could spread this out over the course of a day. Typically when we do a workout with one of our golfers, it will combine all of these in that session. So that could be you could do it in 20 minutes. You could make it last in an hour, depending on how many sets and reps you're doing. Typically a good range for people to start is go 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps. And that will kind of hit the main bulk of getting you started on your workout program. There's a lot more factors that will come into play when you get more dialed in on what your actual goal is, if you're looking to lose weight or gain strength or gain power, that kind of thing. But as a general rule of thumb, just 3 sets of 8 to 12 is a pretty good start.
Yep. That's great. Anything is important, which we're going to talk about here. I wanted to kind of start the show with this one. Your swing is a motor program. Are you following me on that one, Jeff? Do you agree?
Yes. And it's interesting because depending on what you call a motor program, I think when people think of program, sometimes they think like a computer program, like there's a circuit from your brain that defines an exact path of what's happening in your body. That's not exactly true. Yes, you're doing the same movement. You're doing a similar movement, but it's not always the exact same path of muscles firing. I mean, think of it kind of like if you're going on a road trip from St. Louis to Kansas City, you might take all the same roads, but your tires aren't hitting the same exact part of the road. Sometimes you have to divert around a little detour or go around a pothole. Same thing happens in your golf swing. Maybe you've got an injury going on that day that's going to kind of affect the way that you're swinging. Maybe your stance is a little different. Maybe you're uphill, downhill. So yes, it's a program, but it's not like an exact specific, there's only one way that you do it.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's like your swing is a motor program. This is how you get better at golf, for sure. You improve that motor program. And then the fitness education that you're providing here for us too is really how you keep yourself from having the wheels fall off the car, and how you keep yourself strong enough to be able to use that motor program that's in your brain. So I appreciate your point of view on all this too. I think just moving around is important. Question about this one, JERF, right here. So one of the big tenets I think we're following right now for what we tell our students on how to eat is just eat real food. So there's your acronym for that. You got any advice for either piggybacking off of the idea of JERF, or also some foods that people should just be avoiding right now?
Well, first of all, funny story. When I saw that we were talking about JERF, that's a nickname of mine in the gym that one of my colleagues gave me. He just started calling me JERF one day, which is kind of funny. So I didn't know what we were talking about at first. But
surprise!
Like,
I'd like to hear how you got that nickname.
Just going to talk about me. Yeah, I don't even know how it came up. He just started calling me JERF, maybe because he thought I was a jerk and meshed it with my name. But no, I mean, I'm 100% on board of just eat real food. It's the simplest, easiest mantra that you can follow to hit all of your nutritional goals, and really to kind of get even your body composition goals. Getting rid of a lot of the processed foods, which right now is very hard for people because you're sitting at home all day, or many people are sitting at home all day. They have a lot of these snacks in their cupboards or whatever. The pretzels, the chips, those kinds of things. And chips are my weakness. I mean, you can ask my wife. I can sit and eat a bag of chips in one sitting, but it's limiting those things as much as you possibly can, sticking with tons and tons of vegetables, good solid proteins, fruits. I mean, you stick with that stuff, and do that 80% of the time, and you're golden.
Yep, that's a good rule. And Cordy, you're shaking your head. Are you eating a lot of chips too?
You know what?
On your bulking plan?
You know what? I am. I'll be honest. This is a safe space.
So anything besides like processed foods that you might tell people to avoid, or maybe even answering or asking a slightly different question too. A lot of people are stuck at home right now and they're drinking maybe a little bit too much, or just not taking care of themselves the same way. Got any advice for those people?
Well, I think that alcohol is
shaking his head again.
Alcohol is like the gateway drug to bad eating, I think.
It is.
So like I'm all for drinking some beers here and there and having your fun glass of wine, whatever. But what I've noticed with myself and with people that we work with is that your inhibitions towards food drop when you start drinking, just like they drop with everything else. But it's really easy after you've had a couple of beers or a glass of wine to just kind of say, forget it. And you forget about all of your good habits that you've been working on, and you kind of let the other things take over, your cravings for sweets, your cravings for some of the chips and things like that. So alcohol obviously is not a health drink, but I think it also just leads to other bad decisions when it comes to your nutrition.
Start grazing a little bit. Cordy, You were really nodding your head there, but I think I totally get it. Hey, let's go back. I want to share that screen one more time for the exercises that you're using here. If you had to tell people a couple of things that they should get for executing your at-home training, what might like 2 things be that someone should go buy?
A good solid resistance band. First of all, something that is very versatile, that you can push with, pull with, attach to something, maybe wrap around a pole or something like that. And then, if there's some sort of adjustable dumbbells would be ideal. I think that's a great thing to just give you a little variety, but those can be kind of expensive. So you might even just get something like you see here, like a ball down on the bottom, just so you can kind of change angles and positions, things like that. You really can get most of your stuff just with body weight exercises if you're in a pinch. So there's always something that you can figure out, even if you have nothing at all. But a good solid rubber band is going to be great. Or if you just got something in your basement that you can jump up and start doing pull-ups on, that's always good too.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a heck of a workout out of just your body weight exercises, especially if people are at home sedentary. So you play golf, but you don't really enjoy working out. Doing this workout that Jeff has given just the golf tech community here is pretty cool, and it's something that I think you should do for sure.
I got a question here for
go ahead.
us.
You ask
for us sedentary folks at home.
Really hit home, didn't it? Sorry, Cordy.
It's a good description. No, how do we get started, Jeff? So I do not work out in real life. I'll be honest. I do not hit the gym. I know that I should, but now I like will be playing sports though is more so what I do. Just that's what I find is a good way to get active and do some of that stuff. And I find it really hard to do any kind of workout at home. How do you recommend folks like myself, the sedentary masses? Is it setting aside a time on the calendar every day? It's also difficult at home to do this, right? Like, do you go in the garage? Do you go in the backyard? Like give us like some really kind of practical, I feel silly asking this question, but it's the truth, right?
Question.
No, I think it is a great question. I think first thing is try to find something that you at least somewhat enjoy that you can maybe do, or find a way that you can make it a little less painful to do it. One of my favorite things that has come out of this whole kind of being at home for most of the time is just going on walks in the morning, just getting your body moving and doing that. And then, I have a park that is right by my house. And so sometimes if I'm on my walk, I'll just try to incorporate a few of these things into the walk there. So, maybe it's just doing a couple lunges or lunge walks right there. Maybe it's, just dropping down and doing a few push-ups. It's really, first of all, just about starting to create a little bit of a habit of doing something, and then kind of celebrate the fact that you're doing that something. And I think you find that you start to identify as the person that's starting to get in better shape. And then that kind of makes you want to do a little bit more. It's kind of like with your golf game. If you don't really practice normally, but okay, I'm going to start doing 100 putts a day, and you start doing that. And after 5 days, you're like, hey, you know what? That was pretty cool. I just had 500 putts, and that's something I never would have done before. And so then you start to look at new ways that you can do it. So maybe it's just kind of breaking into that. And then, Cordy, we talked on the last time I was on the show just on having some sort of a small little daily motion routine, little stretching routine that, that first of all, that maybe feels good, that you feel like is doing something beneficial for this audience, for your golf game. If you feel like it's something that's going to help your golf game, you're going to be more likely to do it. So maybe that's working on, just some rotational motions, or, just doing a few things like some neck circles or shoulder circles that it's just going to loosen up the body a little bit.
I have said that. Starting with motion has been really, really good. I have actually done that, and you're right. You're surprised at first at the pops and all the stuff, and then how it kind of goes away after a week or more. That was super useful. So yeah, thanks for sharing that last time. Do appreciate that.
Sure.
Cordy, what sports are you playing? Like giant Jenga and badminton, or what are you doing?
Yeah. Big into Candyland. Playing some Candyland last night.
Okay.
And then what was the other game that we were playing?
You look like you're probably good at that.
I am. Yes.
You got some skills. Yeah. I like your approach, Jeff.
Almost beat a 3-year-old. It's very impressive.
Congrats. No, any day now. Jeff, I like your approach of starting with something sustainable that you can do, and you can do over and over, and start building off of that. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you're seeing people try to do at their at-home workout, whether it's just an exercise they think they should be doing that they really shouldn't, or just general errors?
Well, first of all, sometimes it's just going online and finding some crazy exercise that they see online that they think looks cool, and trying to implement that, and then either hurting themselves or not really providing any real benefit for themselves. The other are, some of these things that you're finding online are just these kind of crazy challenges as far as, exerting yourself as much as possible and just kind of running your body into the ground. Your workouts should be geared around what your ultimate result is that you want. For this crowd, it's, basically, I want to play better golf and I probably want to get in better shape, right? And so you going and wrecking your body, doing CrossFit style workout or going and, doing these things that are just going to leave you completely exhausted is not going to help the way that you move your body for your golf swing. It's not going to help you recover well for the next day. So it's just, people are taking exercise and thinking that the more they do, the more exhausted they are, the better it is for them, but without really taking into effect what's the actual result that they want to create at the end of the day.
Yeah, that rest and recovery period is just as important as how hard you work out. So it's interesting you're seeing people work out too hard. I don't know if I didn't really expect that kind of answer. So that's
well, for the people that are doing something, some people are doing absolutely nothing and they've completely just stopped their workouts all in all. So yeah, that's a big mistake too.
Yeah.
Well, those two for a lot from Whoop. You wear one? Have you used one?
I do. Yeah.
What have you learned from that technology? Kind of looking at those couple terms, like what have you taken away from that?
Well, something that the Whoop really enlightened me on was just how some decisions, really going back to the nutrition stuff, even that we talked about, nutrition and alcohol, how much that affects your recovery and your sleep patterns. Because I noticed that the days that I would maybe, go out and have a couple beers with the guys or, eat a bag of chips sitting on the couch, it totally affected my sleep. And the next day I'd wake up, even if it was a day that I didn't really do as much training wise or anything like that, I'd look at the stats the next day and it would say, your recovery level's low. And it was like, well, I didn't really do anything. And then you look at your sleep patterns and it was all off. And it's because of the effect that stuff has on your body. But what I think is really cool about Whoop is how you can kind of predict what's going to happen. So say you have a golf tournament or something that you're going to be playing in on a Saturday, you can really kind of tailor your decisions that week to lead up to you being at your highest recovery level that Saturday morning. So you're ready to go. So whether that be your diet and nutrition, whether that be the way that you're training, it really just kind of gave me a better idea of what was going on and how my body was responding, and then how I could go and prepare for a specific event if need be.
So like fitness trainers, like I've got a Fitbit that's similar to your Whoop. Do you recommend that for all of your students that you're training, or is it just something you mention once in a while?
I think it's a very cool tool, and I think it's awesome for people to get the insights if they're interested. I think some people don't care about that stuff, and I'd rather them just focus on just do the right things, just make these good decisions. I'm not usually a guy that really gets involved in the techie stuff. I'm kind of a flashy light syndrome, so like it looks cool, I like it, and then I'll use it for a week, and then I'll not use it because I'm not looking at the stats or not really understanding what the key takeaways are. And I think that's the important thing with any of these watches, bands, is people learning a little bit more on how to understand what they're seeing. Because if they don't, it becomes a useless number. And Whoop, they've done a great job, just like with the emails that I get and the education pieces that they put out, learning more about what those things are. But that person has to be interested in learning those pieces too. And I know I have several people I work with that have no interest in that whatsoever.
Yeah, without understanding what the data is, it's not a sustainable product. You'll want to stop wearing it in like a week. Have you seen the Aura Ring? I don't have one on now, but have you seen that? It's really more geared towards sleep.
I have that. One of the trainers that is at the gym, she had one of those, and we were kind of just talking back and forth about. And I think it's very much based on the HRV, which is really what the Whoop measures primarily. So yeah, it's definitely again a recovery tool. But to go back to your point about the stats and everything, it's kind of like any golf gadget that's out there. I mean, if you have a TrackMan, awesome if you have a TrackMan, but if you don't know how to read it, what good does it do you, except that you try to swing faster the next time?
Yeah, totally worthless. On that kind of note, myths. What do you see as like the biggest golf fitness myth?
So we just reached out to our audience recently, and we're asking them what's the biggest question they have about training, and almost I would say probably 50% come back and ask about flexibility, and how do I get more flexible, or how should I prioritize strength or flexibility more? And I think, Nick, you kind of know where I'm going on this, that flexibility is this thing that everybody's striving for in the world of golf, because they see these guys rotating on TV, they see the range of motion that they have. And so everybody thinks that they need this huge backswing, and that if they come in and I stretch them 5 times a week, that they're going to get nice and flexible and their golf game is going to magically improve. But they don't understand that I can sit there and I can stretch you all day long. I can pull on your shoulders all day long. But if you can't stand over a ball and actually rotate into that position yourself, me pushing you that way isn't going to do anything. It's like me taking a piece of taffy and just stretching it and letting it go. There's no control there. So the body's not controlling it. So people that think that they just need to either do these stretches, which they've been doing, a lot of them have been doing the same stretch for 20 years and haven't seen any changes. And I'm not sure why we think we need to just keep doing more. But
more must be better. I'm not doing it enough.
Right. So I think
the logical fallacy.
The big myth is that you need to just keep stretching more and stretching more, when it's more, no, you need to learn how to control these motions. And there's ways to do that. And then that goes back into our motor program thing, where once you have that control, then that totally changes how you can then control your golf swing.
That's awesome. You when you go to the gym, you work on gym things. You get your fitness level up. You get your capacity. We'll look at this chart here in a second. Your capacity goes up. Your ability to do more work is there. But if you want to work on your golf game, you're not going to find any benefit in the fitness aspect helping you coordinate how to move your joints. It just isn't going to work like that. Not at a high enough level of efficacy. Your opportunity cost of going to the gym, if you want to get better at golf, is so poor relative to find a competent instructor who can help you coordinate how to move yourself around and extend your thoracic spine and side bend appropriately, like you see the best players in the game do. I think that's awesome advice. And that was one I wanted to talk to you about before. The first time you were on the show talking with Brad, I wasn't there for that one. You discussed how you could physically move someone to turn their shoulders 90 degrees. You didn't have any trouble with that. Put a golf club in their hand and they struggled, some of them, to turn even, say, their thoracic spine 30 or 40 degrees. You remember that conversation with Brad?
Yep.
That like hits totally home on a crazy point I continue to make, and it sort of gets glossed over. I have never met someone that I couldn't teach them to turn their shoulders 90 degrees at the top of the swing. So far, out of all the people I've taught, 0 couldn't do it. And it's really the coordination of your joints and understanding how to move yourself around that gives you that mobility. But you've hit it home. It's so dogmatic, and that magic like gnome that sits in the corner is this flexibility piece, stretching. I need to go stretch more because it's over there and everybody talks about it. So I need to do it. It's just such a poor understanding of it.
Yeah, I remember even seeing, I think you posted it on Facebook, where you had a kind of a before and after of a guy that came in, said he couldn't turn. And then after going through some instruction, it's like giving them the right feedback, giving them the right feeling of what it's like to get in those positions and get that movement. But it's a coordination of not just this, it's your shoulders, it's your torso, it's your right hip, your right knee, your right ankle. It's all of those things. And if you can coordinate it properly, you can typically, it makes for great before and after pictures when you're trying to impress somebody, because you can show them their posture beforehand and then afterwards. But it's all about the control that they have.
You hit it right on the head. Like most people, their swing system or their motor program, whatever it is that they're trying to do, is usually just not functional. That's why they can't turn 90 degrees. It has nothing to do with their limitations of flexibility or mobility. And you mentioned how in the backswing, your ankles need to change flex, your knees should change flex, your hips should change flex. All of that then leads up the chain of events that can get all the way up to your shoulders. But most people that I find who come in and struggle with something as simple, and I'm using the shoulder turn in the backswing just because everyone knows what it is, they tend to keep themselves almost like in a body cast. Their ankles don't change flex from address to the top of the swing. They're trail knee doesn't change flex at all. Their pelvis doesn't really move enough degrees early enough in the swing. And then ultimately they can't turn enough. And then they turn right to you, Jeff, and say, Jeff, I got to get that magical gnome, that flexibility training in, help me out. And meanwhile, what I know you want to do with people really is this one right here, help them build some muscle and get strong enough so that they're just more mobile people.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's funny. I often say that we bring people into the gym because of the golf. You know, they see me as kind of the golf guy, but once I bring them in and they see like the workouts that we're doing very functional workouts for general population people, but we're making sure that we're doing things that, first of all, aren't going to hurt their golf game. And just making sure that all the pieces are moving right. You know, how do we get the joints moving the way that they need to move, not just for your golf game, because most of these guys are not going to play professional golf. They have kids, they've got a family, they're sitting at a desk all day. So how do we get them from this posture to this posture? That to me is a very successful workout program for a golfer, just getting them into those different positions.
And I love your point of view on that one. I've got written up their muscles like money, because that's the easiest analogy I can give you. If you want to get better at golf, and you want to go to the gym to do it, that's great. Just get stronger, because if your motor program is good and you're fit enough to be able to make that motor program happen faster or more often or more repeatably, that's what it's for. So muscle here is like money. Once you've got it, you can do all sorts of things with it. And I don't really think people should be working out to get better at their golf game. They should be doing it for their quality of life and just to be better, stronger, faster, and have more fun at everything they do, like you mentioned before.
I think it's
keep going.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think it's funny when I'll have somebody come into the gym and they'll tell me like about something in their putting stroke, or they'll tell me about, you know, some move that they're making in their golf swing, and what exercise can we do to work on that?
Right.
How about a split squat? How's that sound? Like, let's do a deadlift. Does that help? Because, you know, we're just trying to we're getting all the pieces to move properly. And then you need to develop that neural control of just understanding how your body moves. But then seeing somebody like you, Nick, or seeing one of your professionals is what's going to help you then ingrain those different movement pieces and that program on what you actually need to be doing when you're swinging a club. Because if you just grab a dumbbell and start swinging the dumbbell around, that's not even close to swinging a golf club.
Yeah, the idea that doing a golf-ish kind of exercise transfers over to golf has been disproven hundreds of times over, but you can still find it on the internet that way. You know, this is really why you go when you work out. This is what people should be thinking about at the gym anyway. And you've hinted some of this, the physiological headroom. So on the x-axis here, I've got how old you can be. You following me so far, Cordy? You can be anywhere from 20 to 80 plus. Then over here, you have on your y-axis, your capacity to do work. So starting with like people who work out, they might start out at 20 years old, right about here on their capacity to do work is pretty high. Then as you start going through life, the idea is that you continue to train yourself and increase that capacity before it might go down, like you sprain your ankle, you hurt your back doing something. You start working out again and you build back some of that strength. And ultimately you can sort of live that out for a while. Maybe something else happens. You hurt yourself in the backyard, just bending over a strange way. You lose some capacity there. You build it back a little bit and you kind of go through life like that until something ultimately terrible happens and poof, that's just how it ends. That's like a super awesome way to live your life and how that would work. But people who don't train at home might start out in this red untrained area, start out at about the same place when they're 20 years old. But if you're not physically improving your body, it's just deteriorating over time. And then you're so much easier to hit one of those pitfalls like this one right here on the trained individual. Your back hurts and suddenly you've dropped to where you almost can't do anything and break a hip and you're done just much sooner. As morbid as like that kind of example is, that's physiological headroom is what you're practicing all the time at the gym. And that's what people should be working at.
Totally agree.
You see a problem in my amateurish way of doing that?
No, I had never heard that term physiological headroom. And so I was looking it up last night and kind of going through, I think it's Dr. McGruff. Is that who?
Doug McGuff, who started the Body by Science program, super smart ER physician.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes total sense to me, obviously. And I think that many of us, so I'm 42, just turned 42 recently. And I think a lot of the demographic that you guys are talking to here is probably right in my range. It's the demographic we talk to, kind of the 30 to, 50 plus age group. But a lot of us just kind of expect that we have to kind of go on that downhill slide. And that's just how it is. But we can reverse, or at least we can stall those effects very, very much so by challenging our body a little bit more than most do, getting in, doing some strengthening exercises. And that's why, doing the simple things that we put together in that video for Golf Tech that's the nuts and bolts of the way that I train people, because I think that's the most effective thing that they can do for longevity, so they can play the golf game into their 80s and 90s, and their body still works. They still feel strong. One of my clients is in his early 70s, and he told me the other day his legs are stronger than they've ever been because he's never done what we do. And he's all in on it. He comes in a couple days a week, and he loves it. And he's like, I'm out walking my 45-year-old buddies now because they don't do this stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the older you are, the more important the strength training piece is, for sure, because that's what's keeping your headroom high in there. That is literally like the only reason that I touch that magical barbell of ARX in there. Every single opportunity that I take on that is for that. 20 years from now, I want to still be strong, fit, and able to do anything that I want to, just like what Cordy's doing.
Exactly. With chips.
Working out hard. With chips, yeah. If you could tell the average person who might be watching this, if you could tell them just one thing that would be super critical to their fitness level, what might that be?
Make sure you move every day. Do some sort of movement every single day, because if you don't, we've all heard, how's it go? If you don't use it, you lose it, right? So, yeah. And basically what happens to our body is, if our body undergoes a stress that it's not used to having upon it, that's when an injury happens. So the more you can move your body, and the more you can even move your body in motions that you'll do in the golf swing, but mainly just moving the joints of your body, the better off you're going to be at staving off any of those injuries, because your body's going to be used to, first of all, just the motions, but also the tension on the muscles, on the joints, on the tendons, and all of those things. So the more you can move, the better. Plus the movement also just helps with blood flow and circulation, which is crucial for healing the body and helping with any kind of inflammation. Just doing that, you're going to feel way better than you would if you haven't been doing that in a long time.
Yep. Get out and move, lift some heavy things three days a week. Do your jerfing when you can. It's not just Jeff's nickname. There's something to that. And you pretty much have like the most basic template that'll get you 80 to 90% of the way there. And instead of golfers overthinking the small minutia of what do I need to do to be better at golf, what you really should be doing is just doing the simple things that Jeff here is explaining and demonstrating. Everyone can do this at home. Would be a great way to get started.
Couldn't agree more. Jeff, I started doing the daily ritual after last time. We'll see if this time I can get started with this workout series. I'm going to eat this Rice Krispie bar, and then I'll start jerk after that, because this looks really good. And we'll continue on until next time, Jeff.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure. Yeah.
No problem. Cordy, let's do some jerfing together virtually on Tuesday. We'll have lunch on the show. Be great.
We'll see if I also did, Jeff. We learned, Ryan let us know that Taco Bell is one of the healthiest fast food restaurants. So maybe I'll go there, get some healthy fast food, and we can next Tuesday at 2 Eastern, Nick, we can have a really healthy lunch together.
No, that's awesome. But Jeff, I appreciate you doing this. Yeah, I hear you. I think Ryan had a little smirk on his face halfway through that too, thinking about what you would actually order at Taco Bell, Cordy. But Jeff, no, thanks for making this for our students, and golftech.com/18strong. They can always go find your stuff at 18strong.com. Anywhere else people should find you to follow up or see anything else that you do if they find it interesting?
Yeah, we did put together a free resource, kind of the five biggest mistakes that we see golfers making. We put together a free resource for all the Golf Tech listeners at 18strong.com/. patreon.com/golftech. So almost reverse the web address for this one. But then on iTunes, the podcast is over on iTunes. We've done almost 300 interviews with people from all walks of life in the world of golf. Just had Joe Buck on recently, which was a really cool interview, a special interview for me, St. Louis guy. But we just talk golf, we talk fitness, we talk just ways to improve your life and your life on the links.
Yeah. What happened in that Joe Buck interview? Give me like a reason that I should be listening to that. I can't say he's my favorite announcer, Jeff.
Oh, see, Joe's a St. Louis guy, and I've always looked up to him as far as the his announcing abilities and just being on camera. But we talked about he's a golf nut, which so he starts kind of geeking out a little bit on what he's working on in his swing. But we talked about what are the things that he sees when he's out there on the range with some of the most incredible players, as well as just most incredible athletes on the planet. And what he sees is different when he's out with the Duffers on Sunday morning at Old Warson Country Club.
Fine. You've talked me into it. I'll listen.
There you go.
Cordy, let's do this again Tuesday. You have any idea what we're going to do on Tuesday? I don't.
You know what? It's going to be a surprise for everybody.
Ooh. Even me, huh? Okay. All right.
You included.
Thanks again, Jeff. It's awesome to talk to you as always. I appreciate your viewpoints on fitness and golf. I hope everybody takes advantage of this opportunity we have for them here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, guys.
See y'all next week.